Hey, what is happening, people? Woodsy Workout here. Today we are talking Hyrox. As always, my training and your questions. I'll answer them all and we'll see where we get to. So firstly, a little update on me. Sorry I haven't been putting out so much content recently. I have been working on some things. They're in the pipeline and they're coming soon. So still plenty to look forward to. Training wise, I was doing good. I got into a really good routine through March and made some big improvements on my running. I did my first half marathon at the beginning of April and was really happy with my time. I did an hour 39, which was better than I expected. I'm about 89 kg, so pure running race is never going to be my forte, but I was really happy with it. Afterwards, I picked up a bit of a nasty cold the week after. I don't know whether it was like I didn't give myself enough recovery after, or it was just inevitable, but it really wiped me out for a few days, and I just haven't been at full capacity since. It's a bit of a disappointment, really, because of how I was really flying beforehand, and I've tested myself with a few like Hyrox simulations, and you know, I was kind of on the fence on whether I should do it or not, but I've decided I'm going to go do London just with less expectations, where the original plan was to kind of use it as a time trial for World Championships. Now I'm just going to kind of use it as training, so I'll be going steady, and if I feel good, I'll punch on, but I'm just hoping that my training from February and March will carry me through, and yeah, just using it as a bit of a ramp up into World Championships. But still looking forward to it. It's always a great atmosphere and a good buzz, so you know, I'm going to need that, and yeah, I hope to see you guys there. So enough from me. Let's dig into some questions. So we have, by the way, I put these questions. I put up a thing on Instagram. So if you do have any questions, either look out for one of those posts or just send me a message on Instagram at Woodsy Workout. So first one today, we have last minute tips for Hyrox, doing my first one on Sunday. Nice. Okay, so top last minute tips, so things that you can kind of implement straight away. Check the number of laps. So before your race on Sunday, you'll get a race brief. Have a read through, watch the videos, know the movement standards, check the number of laps, have that in your head, and also kind of the layout. So each where the rock zone is, where each stations are. I think the last London one I did, it was like quite a square spread, so you come in, you either go left or right, and so knowing that kind of beforehand is a good idea. All of the stations are really clearly numbered and labeled, so that's not normally a problem. It's just to save time, you kind of want to know where you're going and stop that kind of getting lost in the rock zone. And then other things, making sure that your reps are really clean, especially at the beginning when the judge is watching you, making sure you almost exaggerate it, making sure you're doing it really nice, and that kind of let them know that you can do it, and then you can kind of get into the flow and the rhythm. You don't want to go in and straight away get a few no reps, and if you do, then don't be afraid to ask your judge, like, why. You know, that they should be able to explain, oh, you didn't put you jumped your hands forward on the burpees, so don't do that. Because what you don't want to do is them give you like a little warning, and then you do it again because you don't know what you're doing wrong, and then you get a no rep, and then you know, in the heat of the moment, you're arguing, that sort of thing. So clean reps, ask your judge, and yeah, you should be good. Other things, like so with the running, I always say like run until it starts to feel better. It'll a lot of the stations will pump up your legs. You get fill them up with blood and fatigue, and make the running out of the stations really difficult. But if you can fight the urge to not slow down and walk and start to get into a steady pace, that kind of overwhelming feeling will subside after a minute or so, and you can kind of get back into your normal pace. Like for myself, I tend to aim for around 4.5 minutes for my kilometers. So that first 500 meters might be slower. It'd be around 2 minutes 30, and then I can get into my rhythm. That second is 2 minutes, but that's still better than doing like walking through the rock zone and then running your 1K at fast pace. You might think that, oh, all of my runs were really good, but then you've got a massive long time in the rock zone. So I always think like get it going, get the legs moving, fight that urge to walk. Like the fatigue and the build up will subside. Cool. So those are my last minute tips for Hyrox. Next question. What does it take to go sub 70 or sub 60 in the men's/women's pro? Okay, good question. So I don't know whether they're referring to sub 70 for the women or sub 60 for the men, or both. But yeah, I mean they're right around kind of elite times, or the cutoff for the elite 15. It's been getting lower and lower. I think sub 70 for men's pro, or sub 75 for women's pro is that's like a pretty decent time. I mean, for me, it's taken me sort of 4 races and about a year of training to kind of get there. And it obviously depends on how much you've done previously. I think you need to have a good few years of experience in a similar field, either strength training, running, or playing a sport at a high level. Sub 65 for women's pro and sub 60 for men's pro. That's right around that elite 15 kind of cutoff. So what does it take to do that? Well, for most athletes, they have had a few years of running experience and they've built their strength or honed in on specific skills to a point where it doesn't hold them back. I think at that level, you can't have any stations that are like complete duds. Men, they are running like sub 4 minutes for their kilometers, right around like 3:45, and then all of the stations bar maybe the wall balls are like under 4 minutes. Women, to run like sub 65, they're doing like sort of sub 4:15 on the runs, and same for the stations, like right around that 4 minute mark. None of them that are like over 5 minutes for the stations. Those are some rough numbers for sub 70, sub 65, like those sort of elite numbers. And then also I want to give a shout out to Meg Jacoby, who was the first woman to go sub 60, which is amazing. So if you want to know what it takes to go sub 60 as a woman, then ask Meg, because she's clearly knows what she's doing. Okay, next question. What should I set the rower and skier to? So damper settings. So damper is basically just the dial on the side of the rower or skier. And what seems like quite a simple question can actually be there's a bit of a grey area. So when it comes to damper settings, the best analogy that I've heard is it's like climbing stairs. So if you imagine 1,000 meters is like a long flight of stairs, if your damper is low, it's like taking the stairs one at a time. So you don't have a lot of resistance, your turnover can be really quick, but you don't get as far with each stroke. If your damper setting is high, it's like taking the stairs 2 or 3 at a time. So you can put a lot of power into the strokes, but you're not going to be able to turn it over as quickly. And that's kind of where, like, that's kind of the analogy. So you can either go short and fast or longer, powerful strokes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that one is faster than the other, but they can often equate to the same time, but they'll have a different effect on the body. So taking stairs one at a time, going quick, light strokes is going to increase your cardiovascular and respiratory demands of your heart and lungs, and then it's going to decrease the muscular demands. And taking the stairs like 3 at a time, or going high damper, powerful, long strokes, is going to increase your muscular demands, but it's going to decrease the cardiovascular demand. So your best bet is often somewhere in the middle, but if you know you're a stronger athlete with less cardiovascular endurance, then set it higher and slow the stroke rate down. And if your cardio is good but your strength isn't, then set it lower. And you can have a play around with that in training. There's a good workout you can do is like, I'll post it on here. It'll be like setting the damper at different rates and changing your stroke rate. Cool. And then the thing that really muddies the water in terms of what should you set your skier or rower at is that we're talking damper settings here, but each skier and rower will have a different drag factor depending on the air or how new or clean the machine is. So this means that a damper set to 7 at your gym on your decrepit old rower that's been sucking dust all its life is going to feel really different to the Hyrox rowers, which at the moment they tend to be in pretty good nick. So unfortunately you can't test the drag factor of the skiers and rowers before racing. You just have to, you just have to be in the ballpark. So, that a difference of 1 or 2 isn't going to be make or break in the race. So don't panic really. Have a feel for it in training on what you like to set the damper to, and then you kind of just have to hope for the best. And remember, you can only change the damper once before you start. You can't adjust it afterwards. Cool. So yeah, feel it out. Don't panic. Hope for the best. Okay, next question. Favorite and worst stations and why? Good one. For me, favorite station has got to be either the rower or the farmers. They kind of play to my strengths. I've got decent grip strength and I'm tall. I've got quite a long, good length on the rower. The farmer carry is kind of where I start to punch on a bit. So if my race is going well, that's where I'm passing people. And with the rower, I get to sit down. I can use my length. I can kind of relax a little bit, and also you're stationary. You can kind of take in the scene of it. You've got your screen to monitor your pace. So as long as you're keeping the pace that you want, you can just you can kind of have a moment there. So that's why I really like that. Worst stations. It's got to be the lunges, I think, for me. Mostly kind of, in training, like the damage, repeatedly banging your knees against the floor if you're trying to go fast, or but also just the eccentric loading gets you really sore the next day. And I've had cramps a couple of times in races and in training. So yeah, not my favourite, but it's weird. Like my favourite and least favourite stations have changed since I've started training. Like I used to hate wall balls, obvious reasons, but since I've done them a lot more and really honed in on my technique, and I've kind of drilled them until I'm like, right, I really want to see what I can do on these. It kind of gives me a little bit more of a. I get excited to see if I can do it, even though like the actual movement is still horrible. Yeah, it kind of changes my perception a little bit, and so yeah, maybe I need to do that with the lunges as well. Cool. Next question: any alternatives to train the sled push and pull at home? So I do actually have, I've done a previous video on alternatives to sled push and pull. So you can go check that out. I'll put it in the description, but kind of to give you an overview, you can get creative. You can start to do things like push cars, climb ropes. But my best advice, if you don't have access to a sled push, is weighted squats, Bulgarian split squats, heavy carries, and Zercher lunges. So like holding the bar in the crux of your elbows, or a heavy sandbag or med ball, and then step back lunges. Basically, they're going to work your leg strength and your ability to brace through the core and breathe whilst holding that position. For the pull, deadlifts are great. Cable squat row, so you're squatting down, pulling up as you extend. Work the legs as well as the lats and the arms, because you're walking it back. So things like single leg step downs are also great. And then I would try things like high volume squats into running, or something like a heavy med ball over the shoulder into running. That will kind of give you that compromised running practice. Cool. So I'm sure there's a few more questions, but I'm going to leave it there. And if you do have any more questions, leave a comment or message me on Instagram at Woodsy Workout. If you're in London this weekend, best of luck, and say hello to me. If you see me, I'll be there kind of late Sunday and might swing by on Monday as well. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.